Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a Kickstarter preview. This one is for Town Builder Coevordan from First Fish Games. It's a 2 to 4 player card game where you're building a tableau in front of you and building effectively a city.
Yep. So the interesting thing here is that each of us is representing one of the particular leaders of the city trying to build up the city itself. So it's a competition. All of the cards in the game represent specific types of buildings. There's 5 unique different colors in the game, all representing different types of buildings. You have military, housing, culture, commerce, and then social buildings. One of the cool things about the game is that all these cards do something different.
Yeah, the unique cards is big with us. It brings back memories of like Bruges, where you have this big stack of cards and you think every card's unique.
Yeah.
And that is the case here. I mean, there's some similarities with some of the mechanics, but you've got a lot of unique cards with a lot of unique art, and that in and of itself is fantastic.
Not only that, but each of the cards can be used in a different way. You can either use it as the building structure itself or the foundation which you're trying to build, but you can also use it on the reverse side for the resource that you need to build the buildings themselves. Outside of the building cards, there's a couple other different types of cards. You have awards. These are kind of a race within the game. One of the cool things about this is that it's not the first person to do it. It's the first person or the first people to do it within the round. So everyone has a chance to do this as long as you complete them within the same round. So everyone's getting an equal number of turns in order to do so. There's 2 of these that are face up, and if people get them at the same time, people are still awarded the points. There's also judges. These judges are going to allow you to gain victory points according to the colored buildings that you build. There are 3 of these that will come out through the course of the game. One that starts, one that is midway through, and then one is on the bottom of the deck. The deck itself is kind of the timer within the game. Depending upon the number of players participating, in this case we have 4 players, we're going to go through this deck 3 times, and that signifies the end of the game. Once this deck has been depleted for the 3rd time, we'll finish up that round, and then everyone gets 1 more turn to complete the game.
Yeah, the game overall has the satisfaction of any tableau builder that you've played, where the cards are going to be different and doing unique things for your game, but the simplicity of the mechanics is more along the lines of a game like Splendor, where you're just quickly drafting things and taking things from the table and laying them into your tableau.
To look at the anatomy of a card, you're going to notice the number of victory points that you are given at the end of the game. It's all about building the most types of buildings within the games and getting those victory points. On the right-hand side shows the resources that are required in order to make this from a foundation into an actual building. Normally across the middle, most of these are going to have some kind of special ability that's going to score for you depending upon what you're able to complete through the game. Some of them have in-game scoring. Some of them are going to give you one-time special abilities once during the round, and then some of the buildings are actually the moment that you build them, you get something special. And across the bottom on every single one of these building cards is a resource, because when you turn the card upside down, these can be placed on the foundations in order to build those particular buildings.
Yeah, multi-use cards, like we said, is one of our favorite things, and there is a variety of things you can do with these cards.
So, to start the game, you're going to have 5 cards that are laid out for the building stack, and then you're going to have 1 judge and 2 awards, with the other awards just face down because these are going to represent cards or points that players can get if they're able to complete these rewards within the same round. The game is very simple. You're going to play in turn sequence with 1 player taking their turn, and then the next player throughout the course of the game, and it's very, very simple to play. On your turn, you're allowed to take 2 actions.
Yeah, you can take 2 actions and you have 3 things to choose from, and you can double up and take the same action twice. We've got kind of a game in progress here, and I've got my display here so that you can see it. One of the things you can do is simply start a foundation. To do that, you're going to take any of the buildings in the display, and you're going to put them in your tableau, if you will, on its side.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to note, this cost right here, that's going to be paid for over time to build it, but if there's gold in that cost, you have to pay that gold the moment you take the card.
Yeah, so when you look at this bell tower card over here, you're going to notice a gold cost in the upper right-hand corner plus some resources. So the moment you take this one from the tableau, you have to pay that gold from your own personal stash. The other ones are going to be required to be able to build resources through the course of the game. So the second action you can do, instead of taking one of these cards to build a foundation, you can actually gain resources. Again, you take one of these cards and then you place it upside down underneath the foundations that you just might have taken or taken in a previous round.
Yeah, for example here, I took the harbor, which requires 2 wood, and then on another turn I might have taken this card, whatever it may be, but I took it because it supplied 1 of the wood. Once I have 2 there, you must then build this and then discard those resources.
And usually some of these card abilities, like the one that he just said, the harbor here, the moment that he has 2 wood underneath it, you see this building icon. That means it's a one-time effect that he'll be able to take at that moment. Some of them, as we said, are going to give him ongoing benefits. Some of them are a special ability they can use once per turn, or an end-of-game scoring ability. And you're going to keep doing that. The final thing you can do is actually just store gold. Some of these cards are going to have gold across the bottom. Everyone has one of these storage cards that acts as both a player aid and as your kind of personal base, where you can store gold underneath of these. Again, gold is utilized to build very specific type of buildings, usually the juicier of the buildings through the course of the game.
Yeah, and you're going to find the gold the same place you're going to find the resources on the card. So when those come up, you want to take particular note. So you can take gold and store it under that card, just like you would a resource under one of the buildings.
One of the things you need to note too is that everyone on their player aid or their main foundation card have their own special ability, and this allows them to, once per turn, be able to move a resource from one of their foundations to another one of their foundations. So if something happens to pop up and they say, oh, that's a really good building that synergizes with my tableau, I already have resources on this one, I can just move one of them to a different location. That can be used once per turn, just from your base card.
Yeah, and it's important to note too, throughout the game you might collect other cards that have some of those special abilities. And in those cases, you can only use one special ability per turn. So if I have 3 different special abilities and I use one, I can't use it or the other 2 for the rest of that turn.
So at any time during a round, players can also acquire one of the 2 different awards. The awards are all different. They all require you to have very specific tableaus built in front of you. For instance, this one here says that 3 buildings of the same building type, meaning that you have to have 3 military buildings or 3 commerce buildings of that particular color. The moment someone is able to do that, they're going to actually claim this card in front of them. But everyone else at the table is going to have a chance to complete it on that same round. If they are, they're simply going to take one of these cards and put it in front of them saying they've also claimed that reward. But once the round is done, once everyone's had an equal number of turns that round, this is theirs permanently throughout the game.
Yeah, and each of those are worth 2 points. And we haven't mentioned this and you haven't seen all of the cards here. But there's not a lot of cards with massive amounts of points. As you can see from the display we have here, they range from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be an extraordinarily high-scoring affair, but it's a nice, tight little tableau building game where you just can get in and out and get a lot of the same satisfaction from games, maybe like a Terraforming Mars, where you have these cards in front of you and you're really building an engine and taking advantage of it.
Also, halfway through the deck, you're going to see another judge, and at the bottom, you're going to see another judge. So right there, by the end of the first depletion of the deck, you're going to know all 3 types of scoring judges for the entire game, even though you're going to go through this deck 3 times, meaning that you're going to want to build specific colored buildings in front of your tableau, which may not always be the best case because you may have other synergies between your cards already going at that point.
Right, so in some cases you might see that first judge and think, I'll go for that, or you might let someone else go for that and take a guess as to what those other judges might be and hope for the best.
There's a whole stack of judges too that represent the different colors within the game, but there are cards that are able to introduce these too. Some of the buildings will actually introduce new judges within the game, so you don't have to use just these 3. So you can build like a whole tableau of blue and then find that particular building that it could introduce the blue judge and so forth. So again, you're going to play through the game until this deck has been completed or depleted 3 times, and you're going to score up points. Points are very simple. Any of the judges are going to award for the most of that particular type of building, such as your commerce buildings or your social buildings. All the awards are going to score players 2 points, and then you're going to tally up all your different buildings. Every single one of the buildings is going to have victory points in the upper left-hand corner. And then a lot of the buildings are going to have end of the game scoring, depending upon certain things that you're able to complete.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, once you have all those points, person with the most points wins.
Yeah, so that is Town Builder Coevordan, 2 to 4 players. Make sure you guys check out their Kickstarter page. Of course, this is a prototype we've had for quite some time, but the artwork in this game is spectacular.
It is. It's fantastic. It reminds you of a lot of those other games that take a lot of time to make so many different cards. It's amazing that they have this much art in the game.
Absolutely, and they're all different. So if you guys have any questions, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and everything so we do. And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.